Once you wake up, there's no going back. The world you used to live in, the routines, the distractions, the fake smiles, starts to feel foreign. You try to play along, to pretend you're still the same, but deep down, you know, you've changed. Awakening doesn't just open your eyes. It rewires your entire being. What once entertained you now drains you. What once felt like purpose now feels like a lie. You see how much of normal life is built on fear, conformity, and comfort. And suddenly, you can't participate anymore. Not because you're better than others, but because you've seen too much. Once you've tasted truth, illusion loses its flavor. Once you've known freedom, comfort feels like captivity. And no matter how much you try to return to your old self, that version of you no longer exists. This is why spiritually awake people can't go back to normal. They've outgrown it. Their soul refuses to shrink again. Subscribe to join the Guru Clan, a brotherhood of awakened minds walking away from mediocrity and toward mastery. Comment below. What part of normal life did you outgrow after awakening? 1. Because normal was the cage. When you awaken, the first thing you realize is how deeply you were trapped. Not in a physical prison, but a mental one. A cage so subtle, so perfectly designed, that you once mistook it for freedom. The world called it normal. You called it life. But now, with open eyes, you see it for what it truly was. Programmed obedience disguised as choice. Normal was never peace. It was sedation. Wake up, work, consume, repeat. A system built not to free you, but to keep you distracted enough to never question why you were here. They told you to chase stability, but what they meant was submission. They told you to dream, but only within the limits of their design. Every part of normal life was engineered to keep you too busy, too tired, or too afraid to wake up. Before awakening, you probably called it success. The steady job, the polite small talk, the weekend escapes. You didn't realize that your mind was being traded for comfort and your soul for approval. The system rewarded your obedience with temporary pleasures, a promotion, a like, a new toy, just enough to keep you asleep. You thought you were free because your cage was invisible. But when consciousness finally breaks through, it hits like lightning. Suddenly you see it all. The illusions of choice, the manipulations of culture, the endless distractions that fed your ego but starved your soul. You see how the world conditions people to conform, to hide their truth, to fit in at the cost of feeling alive. Normal wasn't living, it was dying slowly, beautifully, quietly. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You can't pretend that the 9-to-5 grind, the gossip, the empty conversations, the shallow goals are fulfilling. You can't fake joy in systems built on fear. The things that once gave you comfort now feel suffocating. The people who once felt familiar now feel foreign. Because when your mind expands, your old world shrinks. This is why awakening feels like exile. You didn't move, the world just moved away from you. You start to realize that normal society doesn't want thinkers, it wants followers. It doesn't want creators, it wants consumers, it doesn't want truth seekers. It wants sleepers. You were conditioned to call obedience maturity and to label rebellion as immaturity. But awakening flips that illusion upside down. Normal is watching people die inside while smiling outside. It's pretending to care about things that don't matter. It's numbing your pain with pleasure and calling it happiness. The awakened can't go back because they've seen the cost of that comfort, the death of the soul. After awakening, you crave truth more than pleasure. You crave silence more than noise. You crave purpose more than approval. That's when you realize normal was the enemy of everything divine in you. It kept you entertained, but not enlightened. Comfortable, but not conscious. Surviving, but never alive. The chosen can't fit into a system they now see as broken. They can't unsee the manipulation. They can't unknow the truth. And so they begin to walk alone, not out of arrogance, but necessity, because the price of consciousness is separation. The cost of truth is freedom from illusion. But freedom has a price: loneliness, rejection, uncertainty. Yet even then, the awakened wouldn't trade it back, because once you've felt real freedom, the kind that comes from seeing the world as it truly is, you'd rather walk alone in truth than be accepted in a lie. Normal was the cage. Awakening is breaking the lock. And when the door opens, there's no returning to what was, because the walls were never meant to keep you safe. They were meant to keep you asleep. The awakened don't look back with regret. They look back with clarity. They see the cage not as a curse, but as a teacher, the place that showed them what it means to be truly free. So no, they can't go back. They won't, because once you've remembered your wings, walking will never be enough again. 2. Because comfort feels like decay. Before awakening, comfort feels like the goal. You're taught to chase stability, a safe job, predictable routines, an easy life. The world praises comfort as success, the quiet home, the steady paycheck, the absence of struggle. But when you awaken, everything flips. The very thing you once called peace now feels like death. Because comfort isn't peace, it's paralysis. It's where the soul stops growing. And after awakening, stagnation becomes unbearable. The awakened can no longer sit still inside a shrinking life. They crave depth, truth, expansion, not because they're restless, but because their spirit has outgrown what used to contain it. When consciousness rises, it demands evolution. You begin to feel that every comfort you clung to was secretly a cage. You realize that comfort was never meant to last. It was meant to test your hunger for freedom. The universe won't let the awakened stay still. It will keep shaking the ground beneath them until they move, until they evolve, until they stop mistaking numbness for peace. The old pleasures lose their grip. The nights out, the small talk, the empty distractions, they stop satisfying you. You try to return to them, hoping to feel the old ease, but something inside you resists. It's not that the world changed, you did. Your vibration shifted, and now the things that once comforted you drain your energy. That's why most people fear awakening. Because once you wake up, you can't go back to being comfortably asleep. The body may rest, but the spirit starts demanding more. It wants to grow, to build, to break through boundaries. It wants challenge, not ease. Purpose, not pleasure. Meaning, not mindless repetition. Comfort feels like decay because it slowly kills your fire. It sedates your ambition and numbs your curiosity. It whispers, "Stay here, it's safe," while secretly burying your potential. But the awakened can feel that slow death. Their soul aches when they settle. Their mind rebels when it's underused. Comfort becomes claustrophobic. You start noticing the subtle ways people around you stay trapped in it. The excuses, the routines, the fear of change. You realize that most aren't living, they're maintaining. They mistake the absence of pain for happiness, and they spend their lives protecting the very walls that imprison them. The awakened can't live that way anymore. Growth becomes oxygen. They need challenge, friction, risk, not for ego, but for evolution. They'd rather be uncomfortable in truth than comfortable in illusion, because comfort to the awakened feels like regression, like slowly forgetting who they really are. The paradox is that true peace doesn't come from avoiding struggle. It comes from aligning with purpose. The chosen find peace in motion, not in stillness, in growth, not in comfort. They learn that evolution is not chaos, it's sacred discomfort. It's the fire that keeps the spirit alive. Every time you step beyond comfort, you burn away another layer of illusion. You stop playing small, you stop seeking approval. You stop needing the world to tell you who to be. You begin to live in alignment with something deeper, something that constantly calls you forward. And that's why comfort feels like decay after awakening. Because you've seen what you could become, and pretending to be less feels like betrayal. Staying still feels like self-sabotage. The awakened don't crave rest. They crave expansion, not in a restless way, but in a sacred one. They understand that growth and peace are not opposites, they're allies. That real peace comes not from comfort, but from clarity. And clarity only comes through movement, risk, and the courage to step into the unknown. So the awakened stop chasing comfort. They start chasing alignment. They learn to find peace within the storm instead of waiting for the storm to end. Because comfort was never the destination, it was the test. And the awakened pass it by refusing to stay still. 3. Because illusions no longer work. Once your eyes are open, they never close the same way again. You see too clearly. You feel too deeply. You know too much. And the things that once distracted you, the entertainment, the fake goals, the shallow conversations, they lose their power. The illusions that used to excite you now feel hollow. The lies that used to comfort you now make you sick. Before awakening, illusion was life. It kept you entertained, distracted, and comfortable. You played the games, followed the trends, chased the same rewards everyone else did. You thought that was happiness. But awakening rewires your perception. It destroys the filter. You begin to see through everything. People's motives, society's manipulations, even your own patterns. What once looked shiny now looks staged. What once felt thrilling now feels empty. That's the curse of consciousness. Once you see truth, illusion stops working. The movies that once inspired you now look like programming. The goals you used to chase now look like traps. The conversations you once loved now sound mechanical, recycled, scripted. The world starts to feel like a stage, and everyone around you seems to be playing a role, smiling through their suffering, pretending not to notice the chains they wear. You can't join them anymore. You can't pretend. You can't unsee the strings being pulled. You start realizing how much of life was built on performance, not purpose. You see how people wear masks just to survive the play. And while part of you mourns the simplicity of ignorance, another part of you refuses to go back to sleep. Because awakening gives you clarity, and clarity kills illusion. Once your consciousness expands, it no longer finds satisfaction in surface-level existence. The constant scrolling, the fake laughter, the gossip, the competition, they feel foreign. You crave authenticity now. Depth, silence, presence. The superficial no longer stimulates you. It drains you. That's why many awakened people feel detached from the world. They're not antisocial. They're disinterested in pretending. Their consciousness has outgrown the illusions everyone else still worships. It's like trying to enjoy a movie after you've seen the camera crew in the background. You can't unsee the trick. The awakening mind begins to see how illusions sustain control. How every system, from media to money to morality, is designed to keep people asleep. You start noticing how entertainment feeds distraction, how consumerism feeds insecurity, how social validation feeds ego. And once you see it, you can't play the game anymore. You stop chasing what no longer feeds your soul. That's when the world calls you different, detached, strange. But it's not detachment. It's discernment. You've learned the difference between stimulation and fulfillment, between motion and progress, between attention and truth. Most people will never understand this stage because they're still addicted to illusion. They need it. It gives them a sense of meaning, even if it's false. But the awakened can no longer live that way. They've seen that the illusion never loved them back. It only wanted their energy, their attention, their obedience. So they begin to withdraw, not out of bitterness, but out of preservation. They start living in alignment with truth instead of entertainment. They read more, create more, reflect more. They value silence more than noise, purpose more than pleasure, because their soul is done being sedated. And yes, it's isolating. Seeing through the illusion often means standing apart from those still trapped within it. But it's also liberating, because once the illusion breaks, reality becomes sacred. You stop living through projections and start living through presence. The world becomes less glamorous, but infinitely more real. That's the paradox of awakening. You lose the fantasy, but you gain the truth. You lose the crowd, but you find yourself. You lose the noise, but you hear the universe again. So no, the illusions no longer work. The awakened can't fake joy in a world built on performance. They can't go back to the dream because they've already met the dreamer. And once you meet the dreamer, the dream ends, and life finally begins. 4. Because awakening changes your frequency. When you awaken, your entire vibration changes. It's not just your thoughts or beliefs that shift. It's your energy itself. You start vibrating on a higher frequency, one that's closer to truth, clarity, and presence. And the moment that happens, the world you once belonged to stops fitting you. The people, the places, the habits, they all start to feel heavy. Conversations that once flowed now feel forced. Environments that once felt safe now suffocate you. You can't explain it logically, but you can feel it spiritually. Your frequency has changed, and everything that isn't aligned with it begins to fall away. This is one of the most painful parts of awakening, the shedding. You don't choose to walk away from people or routines. Your energy does it for you. It's not rejection, it's resonance. You simply stop vibrating in harmony with what once was. The energies that used to comfort you now drain you. The habits that used to numb you now make you restless. Even certain foods, music, or thoughts start to feel foreign. You've shifted, and the universe responds accordingly. Everything not in tune with your new frequency begins to dissolve. But that dissolution feels like loss. You start losing people you thought were permanent, dreams you once chased, and even parts of your own identity. You might try to hold on to keep certain things alive out of nostalgia, but they'll keep slipping away because your soul refuses to stay where it no longer grows. And that's what most people can't handle, the loneliness that comes with frequency change. When your vibration rises, your circle shrinks. You can't resonate with gossip, drama, or ego-driven energy anymore. You start valuing silence over small talk, truth over comfort, solitude over company. The world calls it isolation. The awakened call it alignment. This energetic shift is not something you control. It's something you become. You start attracting different experiences, different people, different lessons. You'll meet souls who reflect your new vibration. People who challenge you to grow instead of keep you small. You'll feel drawn to environments that recharge you instead of drain you. And slowly your external reality begins to match your inner frequency. But before that alignment comes a period of collapse. The in-between stage where everything old is falling apart, but the new hasn't yet arrived. It's disorienting, even frightening. You feel like a stranger in your own life, disconnected from the world but not yet connected to the higher one you sense waiting. That's where most people break. They confuse energetic detachment for depression. They think something's wrong when, in truth, something's finally right. Their soul is detaching from what no longer resonates. The pain they feel isn't punishment, it's purification. The vibration of truth always exposes the weight of illusion. The chosen, however, begin to understand the pattern. They stop clinging to what's leaving. They start trusting the process. They realize that when the universe removes something from their frequency, it's because that energy can't follow them where they're going. Your new vibration requires a new environment. Your new awareness demands new alignment. And yes, it's uncomfortable at first, but eventually you begin to feel the beauty in it, the lightness, the peace, the clarity that comes from only carrying what's real. The higher you rise, the fewer things can hold on to you. That's not loss, it's liberation. The awakened don't lose people. They release what no longer vibrates in harmony with their truth. They don't miss their old habits. They outgrow them. They don't fear solitude. They find sanctuary in it. And once your frequency changes, there's no going back. You can't dim your light to fit into darkness. You can't lower your vibration just to feel accepted. You can visit the old world, but you'll never belong to it again. You've become different. Not better, not superior, just more true. And truth has a frequency all its own. One that calls you forward, always higher, always deeper, always freer. That's the quiet secret of awakening. You don't lose your old life because you're punished. You lose it because your soul has simply outgrown its sound. 5. Because the mission replaces the routine. Before awakening, life revolves around routine, alarm clocks, deadlines, paychecks, weekends that disappear too fast. You move through the same motions every day, convincing yourself that stability is purpose. But deep down, you always knew something was missing. The soul was restless, whispering beneath the noise. Then awakening happens, and suddenly, you can't go back to living like that. The daily grind feels meaningless. The small talk feels empty. The goals the world told you to chase feel hollow, because awakening kills the illusion of survival. It reveals that you weren't born to repeat. You were born to create. After awakening, your life stops orbiting around fear. You no longer move because you're afraid to lose. You move because you're driven to serve. You stop living on autopilot and start living with intention. The mission replaces the routine. You wake up with a different fire, not the anxious need to make it, but the sacred urge to become it. You start asking questions that the world avoids. What am I here to give? What impact was I created to make? What truth burns in me that I must express before I die? Those questions become your compass. The system loses its grip because its rewards no longer tempt you. Money, fame, validation, they stop holding the same power. You see how empty the chase was, how cleverly designed it was to keep you asleep. The awakened don't seek external success. They redefine it. Success becomes alignment. Fulfillment becomes freedom. Purpose becomes peace. That's what separates the chosen from the asleep. The asleep live to survive. The awakened live to serve. The asleep follow routine. The awakened follow mission. The asleep seek security. The awakened seek significance. And the difference between them is everything. But make no mistake, this shift comes with a price. Awakening strips away your false ambitions, and with them, your safety nets. You walk away from jobs, relationships, and habits that once gave you identity. The old world will call you crazy for leaving comfort behind. But the awakened know, staying in a life that kills your soul is the real insanity. Your mission begins quietly. It's not a career, it's a calling. It's not forced, it flows. It doesn't come from logic, it comes from remembrance. You start to see patterns in your life, threads connecting your pain to your purpose. The wounds you once hid become the wisdom you now share. The darkness you survived becomes the fire that fuels your message. And slowly you start building a new reality, one not dictated by the system, but designed by your spirit. You create instead of consume. You lead instead of follow. You move through life with an unshakable sense of direction, not because you know every step, but because you trust the pull of your soul. This is why awakened people can't go back to normal. Normal life feels like pretending not to know what you now know. You've seen your power, you've felt your purpose, you've tasted freedom, and no paycheck, no comfort, no illusion can replace that. The mission becomes your heartbeat. It gives meaning to your suffering and direction to your chaos. You no longer wake up to work, you wake up to walk the path. You stop measuring your life in achievements and start measuring it in alignment. You stop asking, what do I want? And start asking, what does the world need through me? The awakened understand something the system never will. That service is the highest form of success. That purpose is the purest form of wealth. That meaning, not money, is what makes a soul unstoppable. And so they keep walking, not back toward comfort, but forward toward destiny. Their life becomes their message, their purpose becomes their prayer. Because once you awaken, survival is no longer enough. You weren't meant to fit into this world. You were meant to build a new one. Once you awaken, there is no return. The person you were, the one who followed, obeyed, and survived, is gone. You can visit your old world, but you'll never belong to it again, because awakening changes everything. It destroys the illusion that normal was ever freedom. It strips you of comfort so you can remember your calling. It takes everything false and burns it to reveal what's real. You no longer crave distraction. You crave depth. You no longer chase approval. You chase alignment. You no longer serve the system. You serve your mission. That's why the awakened walk differently, quieter, sharper, more deliberate. They know that peace isn't found in comfort. It's forged through truth. And while the rest of the world keeps running in circles trying to find happiness in the same cage, the awakened walk away, not because they're better, but because they've seen too much to pretend. They've seen that the price of comfort is the death of purpose, and they'd rather live raw and real than safe and asleep. So no, you can't go back to normal. You've evolved beyond it. The mission has replaced the routine. And that's not loss, that's liberation. Subscribe to join the Guru Clan, a brotherhood of awakened souls building a new reality through truth, purpose, and mastery. Comment below. What part of normal life no longer fits who you are now? Your story might awaken someone still trapped in the cage. Because once you awaken, you stop looking for a way back. You start walking toward what you were always meant to become.